We're going to pick up the camera now and go outside and get some more imagery. Meantime, thanks very much for watching. Welcome back to part 2 of Heathrow from the Tower. Whilst not being the biggest airport in the world, it definitely packs a potent punch as one of the world's biggest dual runway operations on a footprint of just 12 square kilometres. Centrally located at the end of Terminal 3 Pier 7, the control tower looks down on the airside action from an 80-metre perch. Utilising a myriad of screens like these to enhance their situational awareness, the ATCO team have a digital god's eye view of both the airport and the surrounding airspace, controlling and coordinating a total of 1,300 daily movements like a 3D game of chess. And the fella in charge was here to meet me. I'm on the balcony and I'm here with the big grand fromage himself, Paul Donaghy. And talking about fare and hospitality, I'm very, very privileged that you've broken off from being collected in your limousine to go off and eat your swan and cucumber sandwiches that Jeeves had prepared for you, because I know rank has its privileges and catching you at this hour of the day is quite rare.
Yes, it is.
So thank you very much for affording me that privilege of an audience.
You're very welcome,
with
Pete.
The big man.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place to work. I think what makes it special for me, Pete, is the team that I have around me supporting the operation here. The controllers, the engineers, my lighting panel operators and the support staff that help make this all run, as you would say, as smooth as Kerrygold butter.
Indeed. Almost as smooth, indeed smoother than the cream on a pint of stout. Yeah. And after our wee chat, I was given access to look down into Heathrow's orchestra pit and witness firsthand from up here at the top of the tower just some of the movements from pushbacks to takeoffs and touchdowns to stand. Coming up in this video, a stunning A380 arrival, a bird's eye view of a brand new Boeing, as well as some rarely seen angles of aircraft passing through Heathrow. We begin with an awesome view of a line of aircraft politely holding short and waiting in an orderly queue for their clearance onto the red carpet of runway 27 left following that rolling BA baby bus. Everyone at Heathrow is either waiting or moving, all with ATC careful coordination. Glancing over the Terminal 3 stands, a collection of shiny virgins were basking in the summer sun and had sandwiched in this American triple, being turned round and getting ready to join that queue. Meanwhile, a pair of arrivals, under the strict instruction of the departure runway controller, grabbed a gap in the flow to scoot across runway 27 left on their way to park at Terminal 4. Heathrow's tower provides a perfect perch, and as I looked east in the distance, with the London skylight glinting in the background and 27 right just ahead, some aviation royalty in the form of an Emirates A380 breezed onto short final from Dubai. This monster comprises some 4 million separate parts and weighs more than a small village, descending down the glide path with the Shard over her shoulder in severe cavoque. The super double-decker was fully configured and having been in flight for around 7 hours. Look at that touchdown with barely a rattle of the fine bone china. It buttered the asphalt as smoothly as a Rolls Royce purring up to Claridge's. How mumtaz was that? And as it taxied to one of Heathrow's 24 dedicated A380 gates, like manoeuvring a cruise ship on roller skates, over on a remote stand, gear chocked and engine cowling open, this Airbus A330 was quietly having some routine maintenance while all else flowed around it. Looking down from the tower, this was a real treat, like watching an air show in slow motion. A brand new American Airlines 787, fresh, clean and shiny like a brand new motor car smelling of new. Cruise past looking elegant, and believe it or not, the paint job on that jet weighs about half a ton alone, and taxiing in it may have had something in the region of 10 tons of fuel left in those wing tanks due to the requirement to have a minimum amount of petrol on arrival. It's a sublime sight to see from this height and position, and as it moved towards its stand, these aircraft with their buffet of vertical stabilizers were taking some time out. Meanwhile, very much in the action, this BA baby bus had already received its clearance from the tower controller, with the Nigels at the front having selected takeoff power. This workhorse of the British Airways short-haul fleet was off on another service. With the engines singing for their supper, they belted down the asphalt and rotated in no time into that warm summer air, off to yet another destination. That's what's great about Heathrow, the pure diversity of carriers operating the 180 different routes across 90 different countries, heading for our pleasure to all points of the compass and all controlled and coordinated by a fine team of air traffic controllers. Here's a fine show as well of that diversity, starting with one of the Middle East three. These carriers carriers are big feeders to Heathrow and their own hubs, with Emirates alone offering 6 daily services on their A380s. And here we have an Etihad with its jet, one of 3 daily services and able to carry approximately 500 passengers in what is the world's largest passenger aircraft. They may well wear different liveries, but they're all kitted out to offer the same 5-star service. And this Qatari Boeing 777 is no different in the onboard product it offers. This 2-engine jet has the capability of travelling 15,000 kilometres in one hop, using about 170,000 litres of fuel in the process. And whilst the Speedbird we saw taking off is probably now over halfway to destination, this 777 was being pushed back off its stand at Terminal 5. Needless to say, ground handling choreography is a necessary and important part of getting jets in and out of Heathrow. Take a look here at the tow barless tug, which has scooped up the aircraft's nosewheel off the ground into the tug's mechanism. And here's that 787 we saw earlier, now being pushed back using the old style tug and tow bar, with the wingtips coming in at 197 feet apart. Clearance is as tight as 2 coats of paint. So the pushback team includes wing walkers who are there to have their Mark 1 eyeballs out on Stokes to ensure there's no clapping of hands, which would damage that very expensive aircraft structure. During this, the pilots will also be multitasking, communicating with a ground engineer as well as starting the engines. They too have to play their part in the lookout, and if there's any doubt, there's no doubt. Just stop and apply the parking brake and get it sorted out. Pushback complete, the Sea-Off team in their tug return to their lair for a well-deserved cup of tea whilst this United 767 barreled down the departure runway. Reaching rotation speed, the pilot flying pitched up into the climbing attitude to get airborne and headed west to home base somewhere in the States. And after that departure, there was a treat of a god's eye view of a 777 that you won't often see, steadily approaching its parking stand no faster than a walking pace. The pilot stays on the yellow line by tracking it with reference to the automatic gate guidance system with the precision of a true sky god. The AGS is mounted on a gantry at the top of the gate and safely instructs taxiing pilots when to stop. Watch as they crawl past the markers to reach their stopping point. Engines will be shut down and no doubt the cacophony of seatbelt clicking will follow before the seatbelt sign is switched off. The job done, leaving that arrival to get chalked in. This 787 from Virgin has been on stand for hours, heating up in the summer sun, so much so that the only course of action prior to starting the APU is to spring open the sunroof in the flight deck to let out the heat for some natural ventilation. Thankfully, there's been no requirement for these lads today, driving around in their whips, with normal fire tenders coming in at the bargain price of 500 racks. They're always on standby here, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as they pass by another jet belonging to BA made its approach onto 27 right, one of many A320 flights that pass through Heathrow. This is a phenomenally successful aircraft, like a well-priced family car. I think they're well designed with great lines, frugal on fuel and comfortable for the self-loading freight. Watch as this one comes into the flare and just floats past the ideal aiming point, touching down and compressing the main gear Rodleos, greasing it on the runway as smoothly as Bailey's Irish Cream. That was a fine landing from the Nigels. And finally, over on the parallel southern runway, there was a case of severe eyeliner on this Air Canada 777, making a clean rotation and lifting off, heading for home. And so it was time for me to bid farewell. I returned back down to ground level and onto the apron for my final tour of airside operations. Heathrow is not just an airport, it's a living machine, finely tuned to the minute, manoeuvring and choreographing a high-stakes ballet with multi-ton heavyweight ballerinas, past tales of jets, all manners of kit and caboodle, past ground crews, engineers, caterers, refuelers, and all the paraphernalia that keeps Heathrow operating, with the tower in the background standing tall above it all, controlling in a cool, collected manner through chaos as well as calm. That was the view from Heathrow's air traffic control tower, and that's this backstage pass complete. And if you enjoyed this insight, or even if you didn't, let me know in the comments below. Until the next time, see and have stress-free travel, smooth flying, and above all else, happy landings.